What if everything you thought you knew about the Middle East was missing a crucial piece? The war between Israel and Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iran isn't just about borders, it's about history, ideology, and a battle of narratives. To truly grasp what's happening, you need to go beyond the news headlines. These 10 books will change the way you see the conflict, so grab a pen and a notepad or just click on the links in the description after you watch this video, because these are the 10 books about the Middle East that you need to read right now. Number 1, Son of Hamas by Mosab Hassan Yousef. Imagine being born into the leadership of one of the world's most notorious terrorist organizations and then turning against it. Mosab Hassan Yousef, son of Sheikh Hassan Yousef, was groomed to follow in his father's footsteps. But after being arrested by Israel and sent to prison, everything changed. He was recruited as a spy, intending to double-cross Israelis, but instead, he started questioning everything he was taught. This book is more than just a thriller. It's an insider's look at Hamas's brutal ideology, the cultural differences between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and the inner workings of Middle Eastern espionage. Yousef's story of leaving terrorism behind and then saving his father's life is jaw-dropping. His insider's account exposes the harsh realities of terrorism, and his journey from militant to one of Israel's greatest intelligence assets is both thrilling and deeply revealing. To understand this terror organization beyond what you see in the news or on TV, Son of Hamas is a must-read. 2. Israel, A Simple Guide to the Most Misunderstood Country on Earth by Noah Tishby. Israel is one of the most debated and misunderstood countries in the world. Noah Tishby, an Israeli-American activist, breaks down the history, misconceptions, and myths of Israel in a revealing and entertaining way. With a mix of personal stories, historical facts, and humor, she gives a clear, no-nonsense guide to Israel's past and present, including the events that led to today's conflict. Written in 2021, this book does not cover the events of October 7th, but it does talk about the events that led up to it, including the role of UNRWA and the ongoing political battles. Tishby isn't just giving you facts, she's making sure you understand them. If you've ever been confused about Zionism, Palestinian claims, or the history of the land, this book clears it all up. 3. Letters to My Palestinian Neighbor by Yossi, Klein, Halevi. This book is a heartfelt, poetic attempt to build a bridge between Palestinians and Israelis. Written as a series of letters to an imagined Palestinian neighbor, Halevi combines empathy with realism, trying to explain the Jewish perspective while acknowledging Palestinian pain. What makes this book even more interesting, the updated version includes letters of response from actual Palestinians. That makes it one of the most balanced yet eye-opening books on the conflict. This book is raw and deeply personal. It's a must-read for anyone trying to understand the human aspect of the ongoing struggle. Number 4, Unveiled by Yasmine Mohammed. Yasmine Mohammed grew up in a radical Islamist household and was forced into an arranged marriage with an Al-Qaeda operative. Her book reveals the oppressive nature of extremist ideologies, particularly how they affect women, and sheds light on the broader context of radicalization. Also, her personal journey is nothing short of astonishing. This book takes a step back from Israel and zooms out to the bigger picture: radical Islam, its influence, and what it means for the Middle East. In Unveiled, Mohammed argues that Western societies inadvertently embolden radical Islamist ideologies. She says they do this by embracing cultural relativism and political correctness to the point of embracing oppression. And she highlights how fear of being labeled Islamophobic prevents honest discussions about human rights abuses in the Islamic communities, especially concerning women. She points out that Western governments often make exceptions to radical voices under the guise of inclusivity, like allowing Sharia law to operate or turning a blind eye to extremist rhetoric in mosques. Mohammed also points out that many progressive movements paradoxically defend conservative Islamic practices like wearing the hijab, without acknowledging that for many women, it's a symbol of coercion rather than choice. Her core argument: by refusing to hold Islamist ideologies accountable in the same way as other beliefs, the West enables extremists to push their agendas unchecked. While not exclusively about Israel, Unveiled helps readers understand the forces behind groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, and why the Middle East conflict is often about more than just land. 5. The War of Return by Schwartz and Einat Wilf. One of the biggest obstacles to peace, the Palestinian right of return. The demand that millions of refugees from 1948 be allowed to return to Israel. This book breaks down why that issue has kept the conflict alive for decades and why peace deals keep failing. Schwartz and Wilf argue that the UN Relief and Works Agency, also known as UNRWA, has perpetuated the conflict for decades. Rather than helping Palestinians integrate into new societies, UNRWA has maintained and expanded the refugee status of millions. This has fostered resentment and a permanent state of war against Israel. The agency's policies have kept generations in limbo, reinforcing the idea that Israel must be destroyed rather than seeking a peaceful solution. And the cover of the book says it all. It features a giant key symbolizing this belief that the Palestinians will one day return to homes lost or abandoned in 1948. Many Palestinians pass down physical keys through generations, keeping this narrative alive and making it impossible for reconciliation. Schwartz and Wilf argue that this fantasy, fueled by international policies, has trapped generations into a cycle of victimhood and resistance rather than fostering realistic paths to peace. The War of Return is a book that explains one of the core roadblocks to Middle East peace and how international policies have fueled a never-ending cycle of conflict. Book 6, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Jew by Emmanuel, Acho, and Noah Tishby. This book tackles the difficult questions that many people have about anti-Semitism, Zionism, and Israel. Written in an open, judgment-free dialogue, this book breaks down misconceptions in an easy-to-read format. Some of the uncomfortable conversations are sparked by questions like, are Jews white? Are Jews privileged? Tishby breaks down why Jews have historically been considered not white, and why that perception has only changed in the past 2 or 3 generations. She explains that in the 1950s, when America was strictly divided into black or white, Jews were considered black because of their outsider status. She also explains how Jews have faced centuries of expulsions, persecutions, and genocides, besides now being considered by some as a privileged group. Written as a conversation, this is the perfect book for those who want a crash course in modern-day anti-Semitism, Jewish identity, and Israel's place in the world. And if you've ever felt confused about rising anti-Semitism, Jewish identity, and Israeli history, this book provides some thoughtful and engaging answers. My book 7 recommendation is How to Fight Anti-Semitism by Weiss. We've all seen it. Anti-Semitism is on the rise on the far right, on the far left, and even in mainstream culture. Weiss, a journalist and former New York Times editor, lays out how anti-Semitism works in the world today and what can be done to combat it. Weiss explains how this ancient hatred adapts in modern times and political movements, and why understanding anti-Semitism is crucial for anyone who wants to fight for justice, not just for Jews, but for everyone. How to Fight Anti-Semitism was written before October 7th, but since then, the relevance of this book has grown. This book opens with the Tree of Life shooting in Pittsburgh and examines the rise of anti-Semitism in both the US and Europe. It also offers a road back for fighting back, not only showing the rise of anti-Semitism, but also encouraging a resurgence in Jewish pride. Weiss's personal connection to the issue, as she recounts her experience living around the corner from the synagogue, offers a layer of authenticity and urgency. The book is filled with news anecdotes and reflections from her own life, all leading to the compelling argument that it's crucial to not only resist anti-Semitism, but to embrace Jewish identity with pride. Now, after October 7th, we've seen a rise in Jewish pride as many Jewish communities have come together to stand strong against a resurgence of anti-Semitism. Weiss's book serves as a confidence booster, reminding that it's okay to be outwardly Jewish. Her call to action, educating ourselves, standing up against all forms of bigotry, and embracing our Jewish identities, has become increasingly significant. This book reinforces the message that no matter what hostilities we face, our Jewish culture and identity are worth protecting and celebrating. Book 8, Israel, A Concise History of a Nation Reborn by Daniel Gordis. This is one of the best books for anyone looking to understand Israel's history from its Zionist origins until today. Gordis provides a balanced, well-researched history that explains how Israel came to be, what challenges it has faced, and where it's headed today. If you're looking for a single comprehensive book to understand Israel's past and present, this is it. Gordis, a prominent scholar and commentator in Israeli society, uses his deep knowledge and research to explain the challenges that Israel has faced, as well as the trajectory that it's on today. What makes this book compelling is the focus on the evolution of Israel, from the Zionist movement to the reestablishment of the State of Israel and its subsequent growth. Gordis doesn't just recount events, he examines the motivations, ideals, and aspirations of those who built the state. And he takes a look at the many challenges, both internal and external, that Israel has had to overcome. He weaves in personal stories, political insights, and cultural perspectives to create an holistic picture of where Israel stands today. This offers readers a sense of how the country's history is intertwined with the hopes and dreams of its people. One of the strongest aspects of this book is Gordis' ability to balance the narrative. He presents both the triumphs and flaws of Israel, acknowledging the complexities with its neighbors, its Arab citizens, and the international community. While this book is sympathetic to Israel's founding vision, Gordis doesn't shy away from complexities and difficulties, like the ongoing conflict with Palestinians and internal debates over the country's direction. What truly makes Israel, A Concise History of a Nation Reborn, stand out from other books on the subject is its accessibility and breadth. It manages to distill the often complicated and contentious history of of Israel into a single cohesive narrative that's easy to follow. This applies to readers with varying levels of knowledge on the topic. So, whether you're a novice or you know something about the state of Israel, you'll get something out of this book, as Gordis provides a clear, nuanced perspective on the forces that have shaped the nation. Book 9, Can the Whole World Be Wrong? By Richard Landis. This book examines how global perceptions of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and more specifically Western perceptions of the conflict, are shaped by bias, misinformation, and historical distortions. Landis argues that the overwhelming negative narrative of Israel in the international media and academia is rooted in a skewed narrative that ignores historical context, facts, and the complexities of the situation. The book challenges the prevailing narratives that portray Israel as the aggressor and the Palestinians as innocent victims. Landis examines the role of the media in shaping these perceptions, particularly false accusations like the blood libel and Israeli atrocities. He also discusses the influence of political and ideological forces in the West, including anti-Zionism that distorts the facts of the conflict. Landis uses a combination of historical analysis, media critique, and an examination of political trends to show how the truth of Israel's actions or security concerns are often ignored or misrepresented. He asks the provocative question of whether the whole world can truly be wrong in its perception of Israel, suggesting that the widespread hostility toward the Jewish state is not based on objective facts, but on a combination of ideological bias and misinformation. Overall, the book encourages the reader to critically examine the dominant narrative surrounding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and question the assumptions that fuel widespread misconceptions about Israel and the Middle East. And ending on an uplifting and inspiring book, number 10, Startup Nation by Dan Sensor and Saul Singer. Why does Israel produce more startups than any other country? Startup Nation examines how Israel's history, culture, and military training contribute to world-leading innovation. This book isn't about the conflict, but it provides crucial insight into Israel's resilience, adaptability, and such an influential role in global technology and economics. Authors Sensor and Singer explore the factors that have led to Israel's remarkable success as a global hub for entrepreneurship and innovation. The most interesting part of the book is an exploration into Israel's chutzpah culture and how that's played a critical role in Israel's entrepreneurial spirit. The authors argue that chutzpah, or a boldness or audacity in the face of challenges, has been a key driver in the creation of successful startups. Israelis are known for their willingness to question authority, take risks, and embrace failure as a learning experience. All of these contribute to a thriving environment for innovation. This culture of resilience and defiance in the face of adversity has helped foster Israel's rapid growth as a global leader in technology, defense, and entrepreneurship. In addition, the book delves into how Israel's mandatory military service cultivates leadership, teamwork, and problem-solving skills. The experience of young soldiers working in high-pressure creative roles in the military leads to skills that are highly transferable in the civilian tech world. The military's attitude on producing a no-fear attitude towards failure and pushing boundaries is mirrored in Israel's startup culture. The combination of a unique culture, strong military infrastructure, and education and risk-taking creates the perfect environment for innovation. This is the part of the book that stands out, as it gives a clear understanding of the cultural and societal factors that make Israel's entrepreneurial ecosystem so successful. And it challenges the reader to also think of how other nations could also adopt similar approaches to foster innovation. So, what ties these books together? Books like Son of Hamas, Israel and the War of Return explain the root causes of the ongoing war. Titles like Israel, Uncomfortable Conversations with the Jew, How to Fight Anti-Semitism, and Can the Whole World Be Wrong? Tackle misconceptions and historical truths. Books like Letters to My Palestinian Neighbor and Unveiled humanize how individuals are impacted by these geopolitical struggles. And Startup Nation showcases how Israel's culture of resilience extends far beyond warfare into innovation and success. Together, these books create a full picture of Israel, its challenges, and its place in the world, going behind the news headlines and into the reality of a country that's constantly at the center of history. So what do you think? Which books have you read? And what other books should I add to the list? Let's keep the conversation going. Drop your recommendations in the comments and let me know what you think I should read next. I hope these books give you a better understanding of what's happening here in Israel, in the Middle East, and around the world. Happy reading!